Did you get it open now?
I think so. I don't know yet.
You need to be on Facebook, right?
So is it live right now?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of New Westminster Spiritual Community and our kickoff to a 4-week series on the magical metaphysical tour with the Beatles. How cool is that? My name is Reverend Rhoda Segura, and I am so delighted to be the leader of this community of love and joy and support. It is a privilege to be part of this beautiful community. If you are new here for the very first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy your experience here. And if you are returning to us, welcome as well. It is always so lovely to see all of our family get together every week. The Unity movement teaches spiritual principles for full and abundant living. We draw on the teachings of Jesus as our primary way shower, and we honor and draw from the wisdom traditions of other faith traditions as well as other wisdom teachers such as John Lennon and Paul McCartney and George Harrison and also Ringo Starr. We draw on the wisdom that is in all wisdom teachings because the spiritual principles, the principles of life that are embedded in all of them can apply to our lives every day, right here, right now. And that's what makes this movement so exciting, is because it's relevant to everyday living and to making our everyday experience joyful and richer. And isn't that what we all would want? Yes, yes, yes. I want to take the opportunity to honor the First Nations community on whose land we celebrate today. And so we are fortunate that we are able to gather on the unceded territory of the Kakite people. And we honor them and all First Nations people everywhere. Let's open our service this morning with a time of prayer. We are indeed fortunate and grateful that we are able to come together in this beautiful, sacred space. This place of love, this place where we can laugh together, sing together, create a place of safety together, a place where in safety we are free to explore and to grow. There are many names and many faces, many paths to the one power. Some call God, others call Allah, Yahweh, life, nature, Gaia. We believe that there are these many names and many faces and many paths, and yet we are all connected in the one. That connection of love, which binds our humanity together. And it is from this oneness of love that we send a blessing today to all beings on this planet, regardless of race, of creed, of nationality, of age, of ability, of who we choose to love and how we choose to express. We bless it all. And today, particularly, we hold in prayer all who have been affected by gun violence in our nation and others. by violence of any kind. We hold all in a surrounding of peace and love and healing, knowing that we do have power, our power to bless, our power to intend does make a difference in our connection with all. And in this knowledge and for this knowledge, we are grateful. Amen. I forgot to say Happy Pride as well. Today is the Vancouver Pride Parade, and that's pretty exciting. We always have such great weather for Pride. Could have been there too, you know. Today's daily word. I look for opportunities to serve. I make a point of developing my spiritual life. I read and study, I pray and meditate. I am part of a spiritual community. But spiritual understanding doesn't count for much unless I put it into action. So I look for ways to serve. Any act of kindness is a form of service. It might be volunteering to help the poor. It could be mowing a neighbor's lawn, letting someone ahead in the grocery line, or carpooling with children. Service ranges from full-time caregiving to something as simple as listening. Anything I do to make life a little easier for another is service. And I see opportunities for service as soon as I look for them. Service is a spiritual practice. From 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10, like good stewards on the manifold grace of God, serve one another with whatever gift each of you has received. How beautiful. And in honor of gifts beautifully received, we hear the beautiful gift of Michael Vincent singing one of the most beautiful songs written by George Harrison.
Gently weeps. I
Thank you. So a few years ago, at Unity of White Rock, Reverend Julie Montag did a series on the Beatles. And I remembered that from years ago. That must have been 2008, 2009. And so I contacted the person who had created this program that Julie did, who was Reverend Sharon, drawing a blank on her name. I will find it. There it is. Sharon Ketchum. And I asked her to send me her information if she would be willing to. And so I want to honor the work that Sharon has done and how she so graciously shared that information with me. And then I've taken it and made it very much my own because I had a different idea of how I wanted this Beatles series to come together. Sorry. Right? But it was really nice to get some of her information and to affirm it. And the other reason, I see the Beatles t-shirts over here, how cool. The other reason is, in the last short while, it feels like there's this Beatles theme that's just been coming up, hasn't there? Like Paul McCartney was in town in July, and I was fortunate enough to go to the concert, and it was amazing. And then this movie called Yesterday is out, and if you haven't seen it, go and see it. It is totally fun and uplifting, and it's a feel-good movie, and Rhoda likes that kind of movie, so I encourage you all to go and see it. In fact, I liked it so much that Walt and I went to the early show. It ended, and I said, oh man, I know that my mom and my sister Jill would love to see this. And he said, well, it starts again in half an hour. So I went and grabbed them, and we watched the movie half an hour later. So that gives you an idea of how much I care about this movie, or how much I like the Beatles music. One thing I did want to note, but I think I'm going to pass on it today, is I had promised from a few weeks ago that I would answer questions that we didn't get a chance to answer in our interactive question and answer segment. In the interest of time, I'm going to delay that until September. The person who asked the question, I will deal with them individually. I do know who the person is, but if you don't mind, I will delay that just because we are going to run out of time otherwise. Right. Now we get to the fun stuff. Magical metaphysical tour with the Beatles. Beatles are made up of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. The Beatles were the #1 best-selling band in history, even to this day, with over 800 million albums sold worldwide. They are and continue to be the best-selling music artist in the United States, and have held more #1 albums on the British charts and sold more singles in the United Kingdom than any other act. And as of 2019, the Beatles hold the record for the most #1 hits on the Hot 100 chart. They have 20 out of those 100. That's like the 5th. What's interesting about them is that each person in the Beatles played a different role, and they each had very different personalities. And John Lennon said that one of the things that made the Beatles so appealing was that they were all so different, and how because of that there was something for everyone in one of them. And what comes to mind for me about that is that idea of all of them made one powerful, resounding unit. And each of them had different we do. We have interesting, powerful, resounding parts that come together within us. Today we're going to focus on John Lennon. Each week we'll pick one. And he kind of represents that intellectual part of us. John Lennon was the person who thought deeply and challenged deeply. He was always kind of trying to understand life. And he's the one who was the first. He was the one who started the band in the first place. It was called the Quarry Mill. And then he was the one who first broke the rule that said no girlfriends were supposed to be there. And then he was the one who was the first to address the whole idea of talking about the Vietnam War. And so he's sort of that thinker that's pushing the boundaries. He was born in 1940, died in 1980, as we all know. Had 2 children, one by his wife, first wife Cynthia, Julian, and one by Yoko Ono, his son named Sean. A couple of quotes by John Lennon. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote, happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. I told them they didn't understand life. Isn't that great? I don't know why that's coming out that way. Another quote. I believe in God, but not as one thing, not as an old man in the sky. I believe that what people call God is something in all of us. Doesn't that sound like a unity word? I believe that what Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha and all the rest said was right. It's just that the translations have gone wrong. Bingo, bingo, bingo. We're going to move right into another song. Michael's going to sing it. If you know it, please join in. If not, feel comfortable just listening. And we're going to move from that into a time of very quick prayer, and then follow that with the song Imagine.
Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither wildly pass away across the universe. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Jagaroo, David. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe. Jagaroo, David. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world.
to this prayer, comprised of Beatles music song titles. Reverend Sharon Ketchum's words. Ingenuity. My sweet Lord, here, there, and everywhere, within you, without you, I'm looking through you. I want to tell you it's all too much. It don't come easy. So love me, do. I've got to get you into my life. You really got a hold on me. It's been a hard day's night. Tell me what you see. A fool on a hill? A nowhere man? Do you want to know a secret? I should have known better. But we can work it out with a little help from my friends. I'll step out onto that long and winding road. I'll follow the sun. Here comes the sun. Filled with inner light, I imagine strawberry fields forever. I've got a feeling. I want to hold your hand as I journey across the universe. I call your name. Don't let me down. All you need is love. Just say the word. Let it be. Amen.
someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Another blessing, Andrea. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. How do we change the world? Imagine that you want to change a situation, whether it's something that's going on in your home or in your family or further afield in the world. Or maybe you want to change a person. We all want to do that. How do we go about navigating this process of change? Well, today, what I want to do is to take a look at 3 songs very briefly and look at what the Beatles tell us about change. The songs I want to talk about are Revolution, which basically tells us that change has to be peaceful if we want to have a peaceful change. We're going to look at Across the Universe, which we've already heard today, which reminds us that sometimes the best thing to do is to go inside and to get quiet. And we're going to look at Imagine, which invites us to look at different possibilities. Think about people who have made massive changes in our world. Jesus, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, change makers, Mandela. They all made change when they themselves were at peace. Some started in a way that wasn't quite so peaceful, and then, after time, shifted into a peaceful protest, a peaceful way of insisting on change, and that's when they were most effective. Every week we sing, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." Change begins with us. And one of the things that we want to remember when we consider change is when we are in a place that is warlike, we will not achieve the change we want. We may get the change that is because we've worn the person down and they're disgruntled, or they are fearful that they're going to get angry again. But that's not the kind of relationship change or change out there that we want. What we want is revolutionary change. Change that completely transcends and upends a mindset. Revolution, in the end, can only be done from inner change, can only result from a change within each person. And when we are in a place of insisting that we are right, we are in a place of W-A-R. War. So let's look at this. You say you want a revolution. Well, we all want to change the world. There's sort of a recognition that, yes, there's something that needs to change. But you're saying you want a revolution. And I'm saying, okay, I agree that we do want to have change. You tell me that it's evolution. Okay, I'm still with you. We all want to change the world. So far, so good. But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out? So at this point, what's happening is we go, okay, yes, I'm willing to work with you on change, but not in a destructive way. What's interesting when I was doing research about this song is that when John Lennon first recorded the song on the White Album, there is a part where he says, count me out in. And when it got re-recorded on the B-side of the Hey Jude single, it's count me out. So he himself had some confusion, and isn't that true for all of us? When we know something needs to change, and we kind of know something has to, we want to be part of that change, and do we want to be in or do we want to be out? And sometimes that can be really confusing. John Lennon himself evolved as time went on. Interesting. And then there's this powerful affirmation that we can always remember. It's going to be all right. Don't you know it's going to be all right? Okay. I'm still willing to talk to you. You say you have a real solution. Okay, awesome. Show me the plan. You asked me for a contribution. Maybe you have a hidden motive now. Well, okay, I'm still willing to talk to you. But if you want money for minds that hate, you're going to have to wait. There's a real sense of, yes, I'm willing to work with you on change, but I will not do it in a way that is destructive, that is hateful, that is hurtful, that is harmful. In a way that upsets and makes somebody else so wrong and rejected, that in the end we become as intolerant as we view them to be. It's going to be all right. And here is where we get the real message start to come. You say you'll change the Constitution. We all want to change your head. Now, I have a story to tell you. Yesterday, I was walking along the walkway in White Rock. It was early, like early-ish for Rona, 10 o'clock. And you could see somebody was like a racer bicycle. And he had obviously been biking and was taking a break. So he's sitting on a bench, and then there's the walkway, and then there's the fence and the rail line and the beach. And he had taken his bike and put it onto the fence, leaned it up against the fence. Nobody else around, except I'm walking towards him. He's sitting there having a glass of water on this bench. Elderly gentleman comes up, sees the bike, walks right past him, walks towards me and says, "They should put a sign up saying that there are no bikes allowed on this path." And I just smiled and kept walking. The person who obviously would have heard this just kept looking out at the ocean. The Constitution, the law, it should be this way. But remember that parable that Jesus said about when you judge, then you're the one who gets put in prison? Who was in prison? This gentleman was miserable. The rest of us were unaffected. This is what I think maybe what John was meaning when he wrote, "We all want to change your head." You're the one who's miserable. You tell me that it's the institution. Free your mind instead. Stop blaming the outside. Stop assuming that because it's done this way, that it means that that's the way you have to think. You don't. Don't do the thing because it's said that that's the way it should be. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Free yourself. If you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't going to make it with anyone anyhow. I did some research on the dictator, Chairman Mao, and after a while I stopped reading. The warning in these words is that we run the risk when we are so entrenched in the rightness of our own way, of becoming as dictatorial and as unwelcoming of other points of view as the people who we are now judging as being unwelcoming of our point of view. The revolution is to know that we are all able to discuss and talk, and that we want to adjust our mindset to allow that to happen. John Lennon said, peace is not something you wish for, it's something you make, something you do, something you are, and something you give away. He also said, war is over if you want it. And sometimes, we kind of love to hate things. There's some juice in that, and whether we admit it openly or not, that is true. There's some charge we humans get out of conflict. Free our minds instead. He also, and this is basically the meaning of the song, he said, if you want peace, you won't get it with violence. So then how do we get peace? He said, creativity is a gift and it doesn't come through if the air is cluttered. And in order to get peace, when we have two people, or change, if you will, with two people with different points of view and different values, we need to be able to talk peacefully. And when the air is cluttered, that can be really, really challenging to do. And I sometimes wonder if part of the reason that people like Gandhi and Mandela actually came out of prison, where they were forced into a place where they were isolated from all of the chatter. And it gave them time to go deeper into what they were trying to achieve. That's a speculation on my part. I don't know if it's true, but I do find it interesting that so many of the people who made amazing radical changes in our world have been imprisoned first. And perhaps that actually ended up being a good thing because it gave them time to meditate. And this brings me to the next song, which is Across the Universe. John Lennon said he wrote this song after he and his first wife, Cynthia, were in bed one night, and she was nattering on. And she wouldn't stop nattering, and finally she fell asleep. And the words just kept going around and around and around in his head. Tell me that John's not the only one. Words keep going round and round. So he got up, went down downstairs and wrote this song. And it's about the evolution of how to get centered. So he says, words are flying out like endless rain into a paper cup. Isn't that awesome? Is it just me who thinks that that is magical? They slither wildly as they slip away. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Jai Guru Deva Om is a mantra. Say it often. You can say any words you want in there. According to the internet, Jai Guru Deva Om translates into, I'm going to lose it, glory to the shining remover of darkness. But it was also used by the late Maharishi Mahesh Yogi about his guru. And in that case, it translates to all glory to Guru Deva. Then he moves to images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. See how that starts to be a little bit more pretty than words falling out of a paper cup. Get a little bit more centered, and all of a sudden the images of broken light dance before me like a million eyes. Thoughts, though, continue to meander like a restless wind in the letterbox. They tumble blindly. And then, as we get more and more centered, we get this vision of what is possible. When we get centered, we get that sounds of laughter, shades of life are ringing through my opened ears, inciting and inviting me. Limitless, undying love which shines around me like a million suns. It calls me on and on across the universe. Make sense of all the chatter. The message is, go within. From confusion to sounds of laughter, go within. And when you are within, imagine. You'll notice there are 3 verses to the song Imagine. And it starts out big. Imagine there's no heaven and no hell, that there's only sky, that we have nothing to fear. Then it comes closer, and it says, imagine there's no countries. Imagine that we don't have to actually stand and fight each other. We have nothing that we need to kill or die for. And that includes religion, because God knows how many millions of people have been killed in the name of religion. Get rid of it. Accept it all. Talk. Imagine. And then it gets even closer. And this part is the most difficult. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. There is enough to feed every mouth on this planet. It's just a matter of willingness to distribute differently. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. All the people sharing all the world. Say what you say. This is John Lennon. Say, what do you say? What do you say? And here's what I say. Talk. And so these three songs, revolution, change must be peaceful if we want meaningful peace, meaningful change. Across the universe, going in, quieting your mind is the way that we help to discern the truth for ourselves. It helps to get rid of the noise. And then imagine, what possibilities are there? What can we do to make change? Revolutionary change without the fight. That is our goal. We're going to sing revolution. Everybody up.
So what's happening at Unity today or the coming week or the coming month? We are holding a prayer in August, Unity Christ Center of Truth in Metaphysical, Ontario. Is that?
Yes.
And the Unity Church of Winnipeg. We are having a big reminder for the food bank. Lots of people don't have enough food, lots and lots of them. So we need more food. Please bring in Art, who's not here today. He has a big box in the back so you can put your non-perishables in there, okay? Today is, who is the prayer chaplain? Who is the chaplain? Hi, Gladys. Gladys is the chaplain, so if you want one-on-one prayer at the end of this service, of the fellowship hall, she's waiting for you there. And it works, I know that. So there is no meditation with Ron this month of August, but we'll come back in, I think, September. We have energy balancing, mostly every Sunday. And please put up your hand, Elaine. There's Elaine. She's fabulous. Yeah, there's me, but often I'm busy. But you're the one that's using, you're the one that does it most of the time. And I can tell you, Elaine is a wonderful healer. We have many good reports on that. Thursday morning, we have our usual prayer circle, and it's really beautiful. It's getting big and bigger, and I think we have to move in here eventually. It's a wonderful get-together where we hold people in prayer. We fill out prayer slips, and you've got prayer slips outside right by the kitchen. There's a box, and you can fill that in, and then we pray for you or anyone you want us to pray for. That is followed by the book study, but I don't think this Thursday it's followed by the book study because we are gathering, organizing, selecting for our big summer sale, our fundraiser this coming Saturday, which is the 8th, is it? No, it's the 10th of August, and so on the 8th we get together, so come at 11 and then help us set up different tables and organizing. It'll be so much fun. It's a lot of work though. So we are still looking for some silent auction pieces. They are good pieces where we can bid on, and it's going to be the day off, so that'll be on the Saturday, okay? So our, New West Pride, we're having the Pride on August the 17th, which is a Saturday between 3 and 8, and it's Lyle and Cliff over there who are looking after it, so you want to be part of it, please talk to them, okay? I'm sorry I'm not going to be there, but I was at the one in Surrey and it was fabulous. So here we are, this is the Unity Conference in September, and from 24th to 28th, so still, if you want to go, you can still register, I believe. It's $425. Is it US or Canadian? That's Canadian. And then the other $119 a night, the hotel rate, that's US, unfortunately. But, the change in money. So you have the Reverend Dr. Martha Craig, she's the keynote presenter. Daniel Nahmod is the musician. We sang last Sunday, we sang one of his songs. Yeah, it's wonderful. So, I have a feeling that's it. Yeah. So thank you all for being here. Now we're going to bless our gifts. Please hold your